What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of the FTN NFL Betting Show, live on our FTN Network YouTube page. Chris Meaney, joined by Taylor Mathis and Mike Randle, here for the next little bit. Week 11 kicked off yesterday with another disappointing performance from the Packers. If you are a fan of Green Bay, it's it. You officially have to pour it out for the Packers. I know they got a win last week against Taylor's Cowboys, but that's it. They're done. They're finished. Randall's smiling because he has a Minnesota Vikings NFC North future in the FTN Bet Tracker. Dude, you can go right to the bank with that one. That's yours.
Yeah, very happy about that. Vikings look good. I liked them from beginning of the year. Was a little nervous with that Eagles loss, but since then, Kirk Cousins, you like that, baby? We are rolling with the Vikings.
Taylor, we're going to talk about that game in just a little bit. I know you're looking forward to it. Cowboys' potential bounce back spot here. Looks like Zeke is going to return. Just a couple housekeeping items off the top of the show. We have free trials over at FTNBets.com and FTNDaily.com. This is, of course, a betting show. If you're hanging out with us live, you can smash the like button. That would do us a solid. If you have any questions, start or sit in your fantasy football leagues, we can help you out there as well. But FTNBets.com/free. Links inside the description of this video. 3-day free trial. Why not jump on board? We all have picks over at FTNBets.com with the package. You get everybody's picks across all the sports, and they are all happening right now. Randall is killing it in college basketball. College football is happening. The NHL, the NBA, NFL. It's all happening. Before you know it, baseball. Also, World Cup preview is absolutely free, and we have picks already in the FTN Bet Tracker for the World Cup, which gets underway on a Sunday. You're also going to have access to our Discord channel, as well as projections to help you make those tough decisions, start and sit in your fantasy football leagues. Week 11 is finally here. So check it out, FTNBets.com/free. Hang out with us for 3 days, see what we have to offer. And again, if you're a big DFS player, FTNDaily.com/free as well. So week 11, I mentioned, got underway yesterday. Titans W. Derrick Henry ran for a touchdown, threw for a touchdown. He still seems to impress me. Like every week, this guy impresses me. But we are going to look ahead at the games happening this weekend. Not going to happen in Buffalo. It looks like Detroit, if the Bills can get there, they are 7.5-point favorites. We've seen some line movement, mostly inside the NFC East. The Eagles were 9.5-point favorites, 9-point favorites on Monday, and now 6.5, 7 in some spots. We've seen the Giants go from 4 to 3 home against the Lions. The Commanders have moved from 2.5 to 3.5 and sticking inside the NFC East. The Cowboys 2 to 1.5. The Vikings just one loss on the season, and maybe one of the best wins I've seen in quite some time last week in Buffalo. Fantastic game at home as dogs. Taylor, we're going to throw to you. What do you think? What do you make of this game? Are you a little uneasy about the boys? What do you think?
I am uneasy about the boys. I'll be the first to admit, last week I was so wrong. I said Dallas is not going to lose in Green Bay, and then we lose in OT. It's like Aaron Rodgers just figures out the Cowboys every time, and I'm very aggressively mad about it. And I'm actually very shocked that the Vikings are going to be home dogs going into this one, too. I was wrong about the Vikings as well. I said that they were frauds going into last week against the Bills. That was an amazing game. I personally think it's going to be the game of the season. Minnesota is just very resilient. They find ways to win. Being 1.5-point dogs at home, I'm worried for the Cowboys this week, too. And because I'm a Cowboys fan, I always refuse to take sides on my Cowboys games because I'm either too biased or too scared to do it. But I'm very excited for this game. I think it's probably the best game on the slate this week.
I think so, too. I think it is the game of the week. There's a lot on the line. Taylor, you're not the only one. I think myself included thought, the Vikings, a little fraudulent. Like, yeah, we can't all be like Randall. We saw it coming like he did.
Right.
And credit to Mike. I mean, the Vikings they're a really good football team, and I expected them to be in the playoffs. But, I think when you ask around and you hear people talking and you're analyzing the top dogs inside the NFC, I mean, people were just talking about the Eagles and the Cowboys, and they're impressed with the Giants. Nobody's really giving a lot of love to the Minnesota Vikings, Randall. You like them heading into this season. Do you believe that they are legitimate Super Bowl contenders? And are you worried about them being, I don't know, is this a trap at home? Like, give me the team with one loss at home as dogs. I'm on Minnesota this weekend.
Yeah, I'm going to be with the Cowboys this weekend. I love the Vikings. I love what they've done. I thought they were being underrated with their offense. They have great running back. They have great receivers. Thielen has found his role here. He's no longer the big 90, 100-yard guy, but he gets those big receptions. Cousins, really solid guys, back-to-back NFC QB6 results earlier in his career. People forgot about that. But I think that what we're looking at here is a little bit of a regression with the Vikings. I love them, but 8-1, folks, one-score games, 28-24 over Detroit at home, 28-25 over New Orleans at home, 29-22, that win against the Bears, which really was Justin Fields starting to get things going. That was a win. You want to count the 8-point win on the road at Miami. They didn't play well, the Dolphins there. They beat Arizona by 8. They beat Washington by 3. The win against the Bills, which they shouldn't have had. I think the regression monster is coming. Defense not great for the Vikings. They're middle of the pack in DVOA. I think the Dallas defense is going to show up. Micah Parsons has been fantastic. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke comes back. Maybe they'll continue to use Pollard. Please continue to use Pollard. Don't put him on the bench. Ridiculous. I think the Cowboys here are going to win this game, and I still like the Vikings. I think they're very solid. They could beat the Patriots the following week there on Thanksgiving, but I think the Cowboys get this one here. That's why it's almost saying, wait a minute, 8-1 team here, 1-point spread. Yeah, that's why I like Dallas.
You know, as you're rattling off the wins, you know, I see Taylor like, yeah, this is why I kind of thought they were frauds. It's like,
exactly.
They
that's what I said. What did I say last season? I mean, last week I said that the Vikings only had wins against all teams with losing records besides like one game. And then I guess they beat the Bills now. The only thing that worries me too is a lot of sharp money is coming in on the Vikings and the public is on the Cowboys, but the line is moving in favor of the Vikings, which makes me think the Vikings are going to win. So that worries me.
But again, we all agree it's probably the game of the week, right?
Yes.
As we bring up the schedule one more time, there's a lot of matchups this week with losing teams. I mean, let's be honest, the Raiders and the Broncos, oh my goodness, like it's crazy. The Broncos, I don't know if I said this last week to you, Taylor, or we touched on it a little bit, but if they've just scored 18 points in every game, just 18, not 19, 18 points in every game this season, they would be 8-1. And it was Russ's best game against the Raiders earlier this season. But if you toss that one out the window, and it's not even like it was a fantastic game, it's the only game he threw more than one touchdown pass. If you toss that game out the window, the Broncos are averaging 13.5 points per game. We have Detroit and New York. I don't want to take anything away from the Giants. The Giants are doing their thing. We have the Rams and the Saints. We have the Jets and the New England Patriots. Those two games, Randall, I think, could be low scoring, but what do you make of the Rams and the Saints? Do you feel like life without Cooper Kupp is going to be an issue for Matthew Stafford and company? I think that's putting it lightly.
Yeah, life without Cooper Kupp is going to be no bueno for Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, last 2 weeks, only about 180 passing yards. His prop this week around 225. I'm going to go under on that one. And the big news here for me is that people have started to fade Alvin Kamara. Well, because the last 2 weeks they ended up playing Baltimore at home and a rejuvenated Pittsburgh defense, which we'll get into a little bit later. Spoiler alert. I think Alvin Kamara comes back. His receiving yardage prop is hovering around 29 or 30 receiving yards. Let's remember that this was a guy, 8 receptions, 9 receptions, the 3 prior weeks. This is a favorable matchup. Here comes a Rams team. The last 5 weeks, they have allowed the 6th most receptions to opposing running backs. I think this is going to be a big game for the Saints. I like them at home. Their defense is playing well, and I think Kamara benefits. We don't want Jameis Winston because his numbers drop with Jameis Winston, but with Andy Dalton there, check down. I think there's some money to be made on some props here.
I selfishly want Jameis because I have a lot of Chris Olave, and I know that Jameis likes to lock into a wide receiver. He is not shy of throwing the football that way. Okay, so usually we just have props. Taylor's got 3, I have 3, and Mike has few sides. So we won't get into all the games. We'll touch on some of them as we move forward. Taylor, I know that you follow the Arizona Cardinals closely. It sounds like maybe Hollywood could return, but there's a lot of speculation if Kyler is even going to be able to play this week, if it's another injury. Too bad, because it does seem like maybe, you know, Hopkins comes back, Rondale Moore starting to find a little bit of a groove, maybe Hollywood. It seems maybe it's too late for them to go on a run, but this may be the best they've looked if Kyler is ready to go offensively. You're rolling your eyes. You're not really.
I'm rolling my eyes because I feel like maybe I'm just a Cardinals hater. I don't know, but I don't believe in them. I just don't believe in them as a team. The NFC West just altogether is nothing like what it was last year. I'm just not impressed by the Cardinals. Like, no matter what they do, who they get back on offense, I just don't like them. I just don't like them this year.
No, you're not wrong about anything. They seem to be an overrated team. Like, they have these flashy players, but they don't really pull out the wins. They lose at home. They can't score early in games. I think Kingsbury is gone. We had that conversation. Mike, is one of the most surprising things in the NFL this season is the West divisions, the AFC West. Everybody was like, oh, wow, everyone's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's really only Kansas City that's good, and the Chargers have had moments. The Broncos we touched on, and then the Raiders. And then in the NFC West, we did Arizona, the Rams have gone through a lot of issues. Like, who would have thought Seattle, right? It feels like to me, those two divisions loaded with talent and just a lot of teams, the expectations may be too high and they're not living up to them. And then on the flip side, Seattle's win total is 5.5. This may be a playoff team. This may be a team that hosts a playoff game.
Yeah, Pete Carroll really should get a ton of credit. He's not going to get coach of the year, but he probably should. I mean, we were all down on Seattle, and this guy has put this team together. Geno Smith is absolutely an MVP candidate. I can't believe I'm saying that. He is in the mix right now, has played so well at 6-4. I still like San Francisco. I still think it's the 49ers. They will get things together, although I think it's really interesting, guys. They paid a lot and traded a lot to get Christian McCaffrey, and it was Elijah Mitchell getting the ball in the fourth quarter last week. But that just means, they're going to play the person that they think is going to get him the win, and that's what they do, and they are deep, and their defense is playing well. As far as the AFC West, yeah, I was very wrong about Russell Wilson. I thought Wilson would be an MVP candidate. He has not played well. The injuries is a possible excuse, but I don't think that's really it. I think the issue is with Nathaniel Hackett as head coach. There are talent on this team. They should be playing better. They've had some injuries on the offensive line. I still think Russ can have a good end of the year and get some points up here. But this is a big game between the Chiefs and Chargers. Chargers always play the Chiefs well. Chargers are banged up. They have a ton of players out here. Chiefs, rather, have a ton of players out. Chargers should get some players back. This is always a close game. It really has gone, like you said, Chris, differently than we thought it would. I thought the AFC West would be the best division in football. It's not. The Raiders have gone south. Josh McDaniels, terrible. But I think there's a lot here because the Chargers still think, and they are, very alive in this division despite all of those injuries that they battled.
I love
Keenan Allen back. Go ahead, Taylor.
I was going to say, I just love what you're saying, Chris, about both of the West divisions and how different they've shaped out to be, because I think when you look at the NFL as a whole broad scheme this season, we're so used to certain teams and certain quarterbacks being the stars. And I think we're seeing a shift in the NFL overall with who the top teams are and who the bottom teams are. These younger guys are taking over as the new elite quarterbacks in spots where guys that have been the elite guys for years are now towards the bottom of the pack. I just think we're seeing a big shift in teams overall with who we thought would quote unquote be good compared to who's actually shaping out to be good this season, which I love to see that. I'm a big person I love it. I always say that sometimes I dislike the NBA because they create these power teams and it upsets me and bores me. Like you look at the Lakers, they have all these star players. You think they're going to be good. It's exciting to see teams with younger guys reshaping the leagues and bringing new entertainment to things instead of seeing the same old every year.
Yeah, I agree. Rodgers and Brady, you guys had your time. That's it, right? Yeah. Rodgers and Brady and Matthew Stafford. I mean, good, he got the Super Bowl last year, but we are seeing some younger quarterbacks, overtake, certainly with these guys that are dual threats. And Jalen Hurts last year came onto the scene, and Justin Fields is coming onto the scene this year. You mentioned Geno, not really a younger quarterback, but a guy that really wasn't given an opportunity over the past couple of years, and maybe a huge mistake for teams maybe not to give this guy an opportunity because he looks pretty good as well. Yeah, it's been interesting. I think I agree with you, Randall. The Niners are the team in that division to beat. They are loaded. They're starting to get healthier. I know everybody's freaking about it, CMC and Elijah Mitchell running out the game, but Shanahan said it after the game. That was the game plan. You traded a lot of capital, but I think they traded that capital to have CMC fresh and healthy into the playoffs and just have the luxury to roll at a guy like Elijah Mitchell. Let's get into some of our picks. Again, we will touch on some of these games from a side standpoint, some totals and things like that throughout the show. We are going to lead with Taylor. We each have 3 picks. If you're new to the show, what the heck you been doing? We missed you for the last 10 weeks. We have a bronze each, a silver each, and a gold. And we are going to lead with the girl in pink with the Luka Doncic Funko Pop behind her. Giddy up.
Hey, I love that you know what Funko Pops are. Some people are like, what are those little bobblehead things? I switch them out like every single week. So
I know, I'm always very impressed. You had in the World Series, you had what, Altuve and
I did. I had a Bryce Harper and Altuve. Jeez. Now we've got Luka Doncic and Tom Brady over here. So we switch them out. Now I'm like, we got to go basketball and football. We got to get rid of our baseball guys since we're over at that. But to my bronze pick, I actually have 2 picks in this game. I'm going with Dallas, Minnesota. I really like a couple of things. And starting with Vikes running back Delvin Cook over 79.5 rushing. Cook's numbers are very up and down this season, hitting this over in every other game this year. Last week, Cook was just really cooking. He ran for 119 yards. That's a season high. And Cook has an odd combination of strength and speed, making it very hard for defenders to stop him or slow him down. Dallas's defense is elite, but against the pass, not against the run. Cowboys rank bottom 5, allowing 143 yards on the ground per game. And they're allowing opponents' ground games to flourish because Dallas allows teams over 30 attempts. And in addition to that, Dallas has the best QB pressure rating in the entire league. Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins only creates a successful passing play when he is being pressured 13% of the time. That's the 3rd worst in the league. Cousins won't have as many passing opportunities if he's trying to avoid sacks. So I think that Minnesota will lean on that run more. So I'm going to go Cook over 79.5 rushing. But on the other side of the ball, I also like Dallas's offense. I like tight end Dalton Schultz over 41.5 receiving yards. When Dak Prescott is under center for Dallas, he loves to go to Schultz. And Schultz has gone over this number of 41.5 receiving in 3 straight games, every game since Prescott has returned from injury. And he has an average of almost 7 targets in all of those games. Dallas only signed Schultz to a 1-year deal because I personally think he's a pass catcher and he meshes well with Prescott. They didn't hold on to Schultz for his blocking skills and abilities that he has. Minnesota also gives up 50 yards a game to tight ends. So Schultz, I'm thinking, gets favorable looks this weekend. I'm going to go over 41.5 receiving on him as well.
I love that call. I like him to score a touchdown too in this game. I think it's going to be high powered. I think we're going to see both teams, have 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think it can creep over the total. And even Schultz last year with Dak, right? We're seeing it now. Right. Dak is back and he's healthy. We're seeing the rapport that they had last year when he averaged 47 yards per game and a ton of games, Taylor, 80, 58, 79, 54, 53, 67, 82, like a ton of games. He cruised past the total. And that was with Amari Cooper on the squad for a majority of those games as well. And you have talked me into the Minnesota Vikings with Dalvin Cook. And he got them going last week with that big long run against the Bills, kind of put a spark into them in a way they went. So love those 2 calls from you, Taylor. We'll throw to you, Mike. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's very crazy when I was looking at his numbers. It's an odd pattern of every other game. He has a really good game, then a not great game. So I'm hoping that this week we break that stagnant pattern and he stays up there for Dalvin Cook.
We're going to break it. Taylor. Randall, bronze. What you got, sir?
Yeah, co-sign there with Dalton Schultz, especially his snap share has gone up since the injury, now up to 82% in the last game against Green Bay. Great picks by Taylor. My bronze pick. This is the law of efforts, guys, is what I say here, is when you have a team that has less talent, not a talented team, but they're working hard like the Panthers have, at some point they're going to break. They beat Tampa Bay. They lost 37-34 in overtime to Atlanta because of that horrific flag on DJ Moore for taking his helmet off, but we don't punish anyone else. That was absurd. They got destroyed by the Bengals, but they bounced back. They beat Atlanta, payback spot. Now they have 10 days off to face the Ravens, but the Ravens have 13 days off, and 13 is the appropriate number. We are taking the Ravens minus 13 points here against the Panthers. Now, I know that Lamar Jackson has been sick. There's rumors of him, potentially be under the weather. He's been under the weather multiple times. He has played fine. This Ravens team is ready to roll. They're ready to start making their ascension towards a Super Bowl run. The defense has started playing better, and they're going against a Carolina team that the only thing Carolina can do, and now they got Baker Mayfield, a quarterback who's slamming his head off people without helmets on. I mean, just chaos in Carolina. They have to run the ball. They are not going to run the ball against the Ravens. Lamar Jackson's going to be ready to go. You can attack this Panthers defense. They have played tough in big spots. I think this game mimics the Bengal game. I think the Ravens get up big. They're healthy. They're ready to roll. And then we're going to have Baker chasing points on a team that really only succeeds when Deonta Foreman is the center of the offense. Not going to happen against the Ravens. I know it's a big number. I hate laying big numbers in the NFL, but I believe that the Ravens have turned a corner here. It was a dominant performance in New Orleans against the Saints. Ravens laying the big number here against the Panthers for my bronze pick.
I don't like laying big numbers either, but this is one I'm in total lockstep with you. I love it. I love the addition of Woquan Smith, right? You add a guy like that who can stop the run. I just think that they're getting healthier at the right time. They've gone through so much over the past couple of years, so many injuries to the secondary and some of their skilled players. It sounds like Mark Andrews is going to return this week. You know, Harbaugh called him a game time decision, but he practiced in full today. You have that, what I think could be a crazy 1-2 punch at the tight end position down the stretch of the season with Andrews and Isaiah Likely. Gus Edwards could return. Kenyon Drake looked good filling in for Gus Edwards in that game that you mentioned against the Saints. So I just feel like they're getting healthier at the right time. I think they're going to be a team really to that you don't want to face Taylor, really, the Ravens. And it feels like Lamar's always questionable with an illness. I mean, he'll leave the game, use the bathroom, he comes back, throws 2 touchdowns. He's all good. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, every single week. Okay. My bronze pick, I actually didn't think I would ever talk about this player at all this season. Not going to lie. But he is trending up in an offense that just likes to run the football. They may have to throw a little bit this week in a matchup against the Detroit Lions, believe it or not. Maybe the Lions can push the pace a little bit. But this wide receiver is just the only guy basically on his team catching passes. It's Darius Slayton. His receiving yard props at 40.5. I jumped on it early at DraftKings. It was plus 100. It's now minus 110. He's averaging 63.5 yards over his last 5 games, 58 plus receiving yards in 3 of his past 4. And, 17.2 yards per catch. I think that's really the key that I wanted to kind of stress. Just like when I talked about Donovan Peoples-Jones last week, is a guy that's getting targeted down the field. 95 yards on just 3 catches last week. That's it. Just 3 catches. Of course, I'd like to see him, get a couple more targets. We're going to have Saquon probably run the ball another 30 times. I understand that. But when Daniel Jones has to throw, who is he throwing to? Wan'Dale Robinson could play this week. He's just a rookie. Don't really have a reliable tight end. Kenny Golladay. Oh, Kenny Galladay's coming back, guys. He's going to be heavily involved in the offense. He drops the ball. He puts his butt on the bench, and he doesn't touch the field in the second half. Darius Slayton has had some decent games with Daniel Jones. He had the breakout season in 2020. He caught 50 passes, 751 yards, 15 yards per catch. So the same sort of deal, getting targeted deep down the field. Detroit 26th against the pass, according to Football Outsiders. They've allowed the 7th most yards per game to wide receivers. And over the last 3 weeks, a healthy 31% air yard share for Slayton, 20% target share, and 11.2 ADOT. So I am taking the over 40.5. I think really he only needs a couple catches, guys, to get to this game. Again, I know he's not a superstar player, but we have him projected for 52 receiving yards. So I think even if this climbs up to 43, 44, I think he can hit that 50 mark. We'll see. I'll put my faith in Darius Slayton. All right. Bronze in the books. Silver, Taylor, you're up.
All right, Jets, Patriots. This game holds a lot of weight. If New York can win, they move into first in the AFC East at 7-3 with Miami. But if New England takes the W, they move to 6-4 and would be even with the Jets. So there's a lot of moving parts in this one, but one consistency, Jets QB Zach Wilson struggling against New England. Wilson has never beat the Pats, and head-to-head, New England has won 13 straight. I'm banking on that trend to continue. I'm going with Wilson under 195.5 passing. Before I really get into this play, I also want to talk about how important it is to shop around for prop bets, and I use the FTN prop shop every single day because this was actually at 193.5 last night. Then I look at the FTN prop shop before we came on the show, and actually most books are sitting around 190.5 now. So when you see movement that much, 3 yards is a lot for a prop play. It also led me to believe I'm on the right side of the prop because I'm taking the under. But PointsBet, it looks like hasn't caught on with the other books because they're at 195.5. So I like that even more. So 195.5 passing for Wilson. He threw a career high 355 against the Patriots a few weeks ago, but he still didn't look great. Wilson threw 3 picks and lost the game. And Wilson's averaging under this number at 190 over his last 5. Wilson's weaknesses remain the same. He stays in the pocket way too long, leading to sacks and interceptions, or he relies on his short passing ability. Wilson doesn't throw the ball well down the field for big plays. I would add in Wilson to throw no touchdowns or under a half of a touchdown in Foxborough as well. In plus money with that one. Wilson has thrown 1 TD on the road and 4 total all season. That's dead last in the league for a quarterback. Full fade on Wilson under 195.5 passing and under a half touchdown as well. I would also throw in there for Wilson to throw a pick too.
Yeah, we like that. We definitely like that one. Yeah, as you mentioned, 3 picks against the Pats in that game. And the prop shop is just, it's your friend, guys. It saves you so much time. You don't have to go surfing around all these different books. It's like Google search. You just type in whatever you want. I'm seeing the same thing, Taylor. 195.
Right. It's the one
over at
outlier.
PointsBet.
Odd. Yeah.
Minus 115 for that. Or you take minus 119 over at Caesars at 189.5. I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? You get the better price and you get 6 more yards there. So I love that play. I just don't think we'll see a lot of offense in that game. I know it's a low total at 38, 39. I gave the under on Mean Streets. I think it's just going to be, 2 strong defensive units, 2 quarterbacks I can't trust at all. And I think it's just going to be, I don't think it's going to be too exciting, Randall, unless you're into, you really like defensive football. It's your kind of game, Mike.
No, I do, but I agree. I love the Patriots. I am told, and whenever folks, Taylor's being honest, whenever she gives you an interception prop, you better run and get it, because I made a lot of money on those interception props that she's given on the show the whole year.
I do call interceptions well. I don't know why. It's like gut feeling based usually.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. I dig it too. Yeah. I think that, you gave, the recent trend. It's not even that recent, like 13 games. That's
right.
That's a trend already for Bill Belichick, and what he does to young quarterbacks, certainly always on display every Sunday. Mike, what do you got for us? Another side?
Yeah, another side. Crazy. I'm pushing my luck here with the sides, but I feel strongly they just popped out to me. And what you said about FTN, we have the prop shop here. You have to go to it. Not only do we have the prop shop, folks, but a lot of other sites, they do not, with the sides, they do not adjust during the game. These do. My second pick here, my silver pick, I am going with the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. I got them getting 4 against the Bengals. Mike Tomlin as a home underdog, 15-3-3 in his career against the spread. You want to include last week where they started as an underdog, but they didn't finish as an underdog. He goes to 16-3-3. TJ Watt is back. Remember week 1? Can we remember back to week 1 when they ended up playing the Bengals there in the first week? They won on the road 23-20. And in that game, it would have been a heck of a lot worse if not for Jamar Chase. 16 targets, 10 receptions, 129 receiving yards, and a touchdown. One problem, folks, Jamar Chase is not playing on Sunday. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had the toughest schedule in the NFL up to this point. Bengals, Patriots, Browns, Jets was not easy. Bills, Buccaneers, at Miami, at Philly. Now they ended up coming home. They finally played a team that's decent at home, not incredible in terms of DVOA and talent, and they beat the Saints by 10 at home. I think they win this game outright. Shop around. I got it at 4. You could take it at 3.5. It's a Mike Tomlin spot. They're ready to roll. They're healthy. No Jamar Chase on the other side. TJ Watt is back. He changes the defense. Minka Fitzpatrick is going to play. Bengals offensive line. No, thank you. Steelers +4 silver pick against the Bengals.
Oh, man.
I couldn't agree with that more.
I know.
I agree so much. Actually, too, at Superbook, we get little inside scoop from our odds makers. And Vegas really respects Superbook. A lot of sharps and big money bet there in person every single week. And there is a ton of money, huge bets right now on Steelers money line this week. So that was something that our odds makers told us this week. So I love that play.
It certainly makes a lot of sense, right? They're getting healthier defensively, and the schedule, you're right, was very, very tough. And I gave a little bit of love to Kenny Pickett and George Pickens in like deeper leagues down the stretch here. Maybe in a super flex league, 2 quarterbacks, it's a tough spot. We got a bunch of good quarterbacks on bye this week where the schedule does open up a little bit for the Steelers down the stretch. And one thing, you mentioned Watt and how big of a game, he had in that game, and also the big game that Jamar Chase had. Burrow had 6 turnovers in that game. 6, 4 picks, a couple fumbles. He's got 9 turnovers in his last 3 games against the Steelers. So I don't think everything's going to be all good for Burrow without his old buddy, Jamar Chase. I love that pick a lot as well. I think he can take a shot on the money line, as you suggested. I got another wide receiver prop here for you as my silver. And again, it is another average wide receiver, but he is coming in red hot. He's playing really good football lately. His last 3 games with Matt Ryan, and I think that is the key, guys. His last 3 games with Matt Ryan, this is Paris Campbell I am talking about. 32 targets, over his last 3 games with Matt Ryan. 24 catches, 203 yards, and a touchdown in each of those 3 games. His receiving yard prop is 37.5. It is too low. I think this number is going to climb. I think before kickoff, we could see it at 41, 42. Again, a shout out to the great prop shop to get these best possible odds for you. Also follow FTN alerts on the Twitter machine. You get notified right away when we make these bets, Taylor, myself, or Mike. We also have the Discord channel in there, but it really is about Matt Ryan for me, because if you go look back at the last 5 games, you see 2 dud games on the back of the football card. Well, it was Sam Ellinger under center. Jeff Saturday, he was not messing around. First-time head coach. The best chance for him to win that game last week is to roll out Matt Ryan, and they won that game. So what I've seen from Matt Ryan over the past, now he's had really good wide receivers, that he's thrown the football to. Obviously, Julio Jones comes to mind, but he's not afraid to lock into a wide receiver. Earlier this year, when the Colts were playing the Denver Broncos, there was a big Alec Pierce game. It was Patrick Surtain corner for the Broncos, second-year corner, really good corner. He was covering Michael Pittman, and Matt Ryan didn't want anything to do with Surtain. He's no thanks. I'm not throwing his way. He threw to Alec Pierce nonstop. And then towards the end of the game, Surtain was like, all right, fine. I'm going to go cover Alec Pierce. And then he started to go away from Alec Pierce. The reason I'm talking about this is because Paris Campbell is going to play in the slot, and he's not going to have to deal with Darius Slay or James Bradbury. That's Michael Pittman is going to have to deal with Darius Slay. So I feel like we got a large sample here, maybe not super large, 3 games, but we do have a decent sample of over 10 targets per game here with Paris Campbell. So I feel like that's going to be the game plan in the slot. I suppose the game plan really will be to run the rock the way that Washington did against Philadelphia, to keep them off the field and run against them. But there are going to be some throws. Philly's going to be able to push the pace and score some points in this game. So Paris Campbell over 37.5, 50 fantasy points, by the way, guys, over those 3 games with Matt Ryan. Believe it or not, a top 15 wide receiver with Matt Ryan over the last few weeks of the season. So over 37.5, actually see 39 right now. So I think it's moving, but jump on it right now. Gold. Taylor.
Gold. All right. I'm going with Bears Falcons because I'm heading to Sweet Home Chicago tomorrow. So I was like, I gotta go with this. So I'm excited to be in Chicago, but the Bears, they're really figuring out how to score, but they've scored 91 points over the last 3 games, but they haven't won a single one of those. They've dropped 3 straight. Atlanta falling lately too, losing 2 straight. I'm excited for this one just because I genuinely have been enjoying watching Chicago's quarterback, Justin Fields, come into his own. I think he's going to be their franchise QB. So I'm going with a gold pick in that game, but it's going to be on the other side. Falcons running back Cordell Patterson, anytime touchdown. Cordell's had 5 trips to the end zone this season, and he's averaging 11 rushing attempts over the last 5 games. Patterson's a running back that can run powers, inside, outside routes. He can pretty much do it all. He could end up in any spot in the end zone, so you got to watch out for him. On top of that, Falcons running backs have 8 TDs, 4th most in the NFL. Chicago has allowed 17 rushing touchdowns. That's most in the NFL this season. I'm going with Patterson, anytime touchdown in the Bears-Falcons game is my gold pick.
What's crazy when I was looking at some props in that game, Justin Fields rushing prop, like 71.5.
High.
I think we joked last week about the 54 being too low. I mean, coming off the 178, I don't think we thought he was going to get 178, but he had like a 140 or something silly like that. I don't know if I've ever seen a rushing prop that high. I know Lamar's flirted with high 60s before, but 71, Mike, that's pretty high, man. I mean, it's what he's averaging on the season, 74 per game.
Yeah, he's been a fantasy league winner. And what I like is they're designing more runs for him. So they've embraced the fact that that's what they have to do. They have a limited offense. Claypool's come over. He has not gotten as involved yet. Cole Kmet, a little banged up this week, but he's been fantastic. It was big for DFS last week as well. Mooney's getting unlocked, but they realize now there's going to be no Khalil Herbert. They have to run the ball. That's who they are. That's what Fields does best. I don't mind that line. And guys, when those lines are high, I tend to go over. It's almost like when it's too low, you go low. And when it's too high, you got to go over. I'm believing in it. I think Justin Fields on the carpet there. Look out.
Yeah, Taylor, I'm sure you're going to hear some Fields talk in Chicago when you visit, right? It's exciting times, I think, for the fan base.
I'm very excited for Chicago Bears fans. Everybody always gives me crap that I'm a Dallas fan, but I'm from Illinois and from Chicago. Most of my family is Bears fans, so I'm sure I'm going to hear a lot about Justin Fields. And rightfully so. I'm excited for them. I think he looks really great. He progressively is improving. So what more can they ask for? And the fact that they keep losing in a way helps their draft stock. So they could be getting him weapons for next season that are going to work out and benefit them in the long run.
That's right. And I didn't want to come in here with the same picks over and over, but last week I talked about Meaney trending up in this offense, and he did, hit his receiving yard prop. I think it was 41.5. I'm pretty sure he's right around the same number, 43.5. But this is a guy who's had at least 43 yards in every game since week 4, when the offense really opened up for Fields. And I think just the way that he is running, you're seeing guys wide open, and it's not just blown coverage. It's because you got to bring a safety in over the top to deal with what he brings to the table. And you're seeing Meaney, you're seeing Cole Kmet wide open in the middle of the field. And Fields looks pretty good, not gonna lie. Okay, we'll move right along here. Gold pick, Cordero, like the call, like Cordero. I think good buy low candidate in season-long leagues, too. He had a bit of a dud game. People are kind of sour on him. I think that's why you're getting a pretty good number for him to find the end zone there. Randall, what do you have? Another side dish here for us, sir?
Yes, we're going for 3 sides, walking on a tightrope here. Folks, welcome regression. Regression is your friend. The Philadelphia Eagles are starting to regress a little bit. Listen, the Eagles have been fantastic, but can we take it easy about their 8-1 record? Detroit, Washington, Jacksonville, Houston, Washington again, who they didn't beat, and now they're going to Indianapolis. I am tethering my pick to what Chris just said about Paris Campbell. You're going to give me a touchdown with the Colts at home against the Eagles. Thank you very much. Gold pick here, folks, is the Colts +7 against the Eagles at home. A lot of questions here about this Eagles defense. They are banged up. They are coming off a short week. You have the Eagles slot corner here. Maddox is not going to be playing in this game. That's going to have to stop Paris Campbell. And the Eagles defense has been fantastic against the pass, but they have not been great against the run. And I think the Colts here with Saturday coming in, the one thing that they've been fantastic with is getting the running game going. Taylor was fantastic. He looks healthy, and it is not a surprise. The biggest disappointment in terms of a unit, I think, this year has been the Colts offensive line, but now they're starting to get it together. And if you look at DVOA here, with the Eagles, their run defense, what they're doing against the run, no good whatsoever. 28th, they are first against the pass. Matt Ryan has no problem with that. He will dink and dunk and hand off here to Jonathan Taylor. On offense, the Colts play zone against the Eagles. The Colts are a zone team. No Dallas Goedert. He is a monster against zone. A.J. Brown's numbers much better against man. I like what Jeff Saturday is doing. He's gotten a lot of criticism. Paris Campbell has been fantastic. I think Michael Pittman's an issue, and I think it's a feed Jonathan Taylor game. Jalen Hurts, I think the Eagles are going to be fine, but I think they're showing a little bit of regression after a very favorable early schedule. You're giving me a touchdown on a total right now that is hovering around 43 points with a healthy Jonathan Taylor, with Jeff Saturday and all the positive mojo he's got going at home, and on a short week with a banged up defense for the Eagles going to the Colts. I know I love the Colts. I picked Michael Pittman 100 times on the show for his prop. I get it, but I like the Colts here as a team. Give me a touchdown at home against the Eagles.
I'm a little bit worried about Philly too. I think with them having their first loss, they can just say, listen, they hear 17-0 all the time. And I heard Lane Johnson say it a couple weeks ago that it's easy to kind of really start to feel yourself a bit when, all you hear is teams talking about you're going to go undefeated. You're going to break Miami's record, Super Bowl this, Super Bowl that. And then you start thinking like, oh, I'm unstoppable, and he even said that, we're trying to stay in the right mindset, that we take each game by game, all those cliches and things like that. Well, they got smacked really against a team that just ran the ball. And they took some shots down the field with Terry McLaurin, and it worked out. So I don't know if any of you guys were thinking about Jonathan Taylor's prop. I was thinking it was going to be one of mine, but I didn't want to come with 2 Colts, and I did Paris Campbell. It's at 85.5. This guy's going to get 20 plus touches on the ground, Taylor.
Yep.
And against this Eagles run defense, I think he flirts with the century mark on the ground. Like, were either of you thinking about that prop at all, or a little high?
Well, I do like the over on Jonathan Taylor's prop, but I also got to say, Mike gets me hyped when he's giving these plays. Yeah. I'm like, Yeah, he's telling me the Eagles are losing. I'm all about, or like not going to cover the spread. I'm like, all right, I'm all about this. I love it.
Yeah,
It
and
does a
listen,
good job of amping us up.
no offense to the Giant fans. Cowboys are 2 games behind the Eagles. And remember, they have the Eagles at home on Christmas Eve, December 24th. So Cowboys go and stun the Vikings this week, and the Eagles get tripped up again, a little banged up against the Colts. They're 1 game back with that game on Christmas Eve. So get your popcorn ready here. Eagles better be ready against the Colts this week.
All right, slow down. The Eagles are fine. They're fine, guys. They're all right. And Dominican Sue, nice little pickup, stop the run, help them out a little bit. But no, I agree. They have beat up on some pretty weak teams. And some of those numbers seem flawed. I know Football Outsiders does a great job in the DVOA. It kind of takes in some of the matchups and things like that. But they have had some pretty weak wide receivers that they've had to cover this year and some pretty weak quarterbacks that they have had to play this season. But I agree. Like, they're just going to hand it off to Taylor. They're going to run. They're going to have success running the football. And for Gannon as the defensive coordinator, I mean, he was asked after the game, are you going at any point to sell out and stop the run? And he says, no, we don't like to give up big plays. This is how we're going to play. We like our 2 corners. We like our safeties. If teams want to just run the ball on us, 3 or 4 yards here and there, by all means, fine. He feels like the offense, other teams won't be able to keep up. But if Taylor runs all over him again this week and then they struggle to cover or they lose, I think they may have to switch up their defensive game plan just a little bit. But I think we'll see a lot of dink and dunks. You mentioned no Maddox, and Josiah Scott is going to be the young safety in there, going to have to deal with Paris Campbell. So I think that's why part of the reason why I liked him as well. Okay. All right. Enough Eagles talk. You're going to have to hear me ramble a little bit more because my gold pick, sticking inside the NFC East, Terry McLaurin. Everybody, Terry McLaurin, some highs and some lows with Terry over the last few years. Somebody get this guy a quarterback. Since Kirk Cousins left, there have been 13 different quarterbacks in Washington. Can you imagine all the different quarterbacks? Terry McLaurin must be thinking to myself, like, are you guys going to get me a quarterback, or are you going to start Taylor Heineke? Because I seem to play really good football when Taylor Heineke is under center. He was named starter just the other day, which I thought was ludicrous of Ron Rivera for waiting. He should have been named starter the minute that he walked into the link and won that game in Philadelphia. The last 4 games here since he was named starter, Heineke, week 7, Terry McLaurin, 36 targets, the 8th most in football, 24 catches, it's the 9th most. He's 5th in yards. He's 5th in air yards. He's 5th in yards after the catch. Just goes to show that he's pretty explosive after he gets those catches. 13.0 ADOT. It is top 10 among wide receivers with 15 targets. He has 55% of his team's air yards. That is number 1. He has a 31% target share. That is number 7. And from a PPR standpoint for you fantasy football nerds out there, he has the 8th most fantasy points with Taylor Heineke under center. I am taking the over 59.5 receiving yards for Heineke. We have him for almost 80 yards in our projections. I know that they're going to be running the ball, and this is what they want to do, right? I said that it was a recipe for success last week to beat the Eagles. That's what they do. They run on first. They run on second. I think Brian Robinson Jr. is going to have a good game. They'll run on the Texans, but also you can throw on them too. They're 27th in pass DVOA. And just those last 3 games alone, 28 targets, 21 grabs, and 297 yards for Terry McLaurin. Get this guy quarterback or keep rolling with Heineke. I don't know, but I am taking the over on this. This is another one, guys, that I feel like the line will move. And if you're watching the replay of this show, I would take anything over 67.5. I don't know if it'll get that crazy, but I see him as like a 70-yard guy here this week. So the over on Terry McLaurin. And that will do it. That will round it out. Any final words, Taylor?
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that you're right about that because I was 9-0 in my fantasy league. And then I lost last week because Cooper Kupp went out. And then also I had Juju Smith-Schuster. He is now out this week too. So I'm like, what am I doing at wide receiver? I picked up Terry. So I really hope that he has a great game for me. I suffered my first loss last week and it's not looking good for me this week right now either. So hoping he's
you're like the Eagles. You can afford a loss or two. It'll be just
that's true.
So.
Yes.
I hope so. I'm like, the pot for this is like $2,000. So I'm like, I'm in first right now. Exactly. I'm like, I can't lose this league. So let's hope he does well.
I think you have a good one in Terry McLaurin. Some of those numbers I was rattling off, guys, all free. You go check out our air yards tool over at FTN Bets, FTN Daily, FTNFantasy.com. I might just give this one. It's like someone was like, what the heck does this mean? He has a 91% WORP. What the heck is WORP? Man, our data is amazing over at FTN. It's the weighted average that incorporates a player's share of the team's targets and the team's air yards. That is number one over the last 4 weeks. 91% is a crazy number. The only guys that are close to him, elite wide receivers, Stephon Diggs and Mike's guy, Justin Jefferson. I say he's your guy. That's it. I think Mike's frozen. That means we need to get out of here. He's off to the side. He's doing some Taylor McLaurin bets. We will wrap up. Taylor Mathis, T-Math Sports, Randle Rant, at Chris Meaney. A shout out to Quan running the show as always. The boards, Fox and George helping us out. FTNbets.com/free. Jump on, get that free trial. We have Randall back again. He's got picks. Taylor's got picks. I got picks. We all have picks. Mike, we'll throw to you. Final words. It's all yours. What you got?
Final words. Game of the week is Dallas, Minnesota, guys. Get fired up there. I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup. If the Vikings get this one, watch out. I'm going to be unbearable next week with that NFC North bet. I can tell you right now. But I think it's Dallas. Good luck here to Taylor. And we got some great picks for you guys. Love them across the board.
Yeah, you got me nervous about my birds. So, like, if Dallas wins this week, I don't know. I'm be hearing footsteps, Taylor, behind me trying to get that NFC East Division crown.
Creeping
in. Do we believe in the Giants?
No. Great job by Dable, but no, we don't.
Yeah, they're getting lucky.
I think the Lions may win this
I don't want to say lucky, but he's coaching the right way in the right moments and pulling out games that are extremely close. I just don't feel like that's going to project well in the long run. If they go to the playoffs, great. I don't think they go anywhere though. I think they lose right away.
As a Boys fan and somebody who cheers for the Eagles, I would love to see the Giants in the playoffs rather than the Vikings or the Niners. I think that'd be all right.
Me too.
To see it. All right, we're gonna get out of here. I do believe the Lions win. There's a little bomb to wrap up the show. Again, FTNbets.com/free. Good luck this weekend, everybody. We'll be back next week. Cheers.